Hi everyone, welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul, and once again we have a special guest today. This is JJ from ASUS. JJ, thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you for having me.
And what we're here to talk about is the ASUS Z77 series, and specifically we're talking about some of these segment boards that you guys have made. Now we have a few other videos up on the Z77 series, so if you guys are interested in those, you can check them out. We go over a lot of the features that ASUS has implemented across the board for every Z77 chipset motherboard that they have produced. Now these boards are kind of geared more towards specific market segments. So we have an ROG board right here, the Maximus 5 gene. We have the Sabertooth Z77, which is a tough series board. And then we have the Workstation P8Z77 board down there as well. So JJ, when you guys are designing boards aimed at specific market segments, what sort of thought process goes into that?
It's about essentially trying to tune the board in terms of its layout and its feature set, specific a little bit more to that actual user segment. So let's say, for instance, like on ROG, right, we know this is going to be more appreciated by an enthusiast, hardcore gamer audience. So we're going to look specifically at, let's say, improving the quality of the sound, maybe add more advanced gamer-centric network technologies, maybe add more connectivity for enthusiast level tweaking, right? We want to maybe have a really advanced and tuned UEFI with robust power management so that we can have higher overclocking performance, right? So we want to try to dive into specific type of design benefits that meet to that user's interests. It doesn't, of course, mean that if you're taking a look at, say, like a Dash I Deluxe Z77 board, or take a look at a Dash V Pro, that you can't just as readily use that for gaming. But there are going to be certain technologies as well as the design implementation that we are taking more into consideration and we'll put onto these boards that speak more to that segment of users. Just like with Tough, right, we have a focus that while the board doesn't generally get messaged as an overclocking board, right, this is really focused at people that are looking for improved durability, reliability, very high in component life, really high quality components that are validated not only internally by us but by independent laboratories, and also long lifespan, right, 5-year warranty. We also still tune the UEFI, put those high quality components that allow you to overclock just as good as a deluxe board. So, you know, at the end of the day, we want to be able to drive in and have specialized technologies, you know, like the thermal radar, the Tough system, that speaks more to maybe a user that wants advanced monitoring, wants to help improve the cooling characteristics, right? But once again, it could be used for anything. If you are a gamer and you just want a really cool aesthetic, you could also use this board. So we don't necessarily want to restrict you, but we are spending time to cultivate the feature set and the design to meet a specific usage. And lastly, with WS, that meets a similar approach, right? This is actually the only board in the entire lineup that has the capability of offering a 3-way or even 4-way SLI support due to a special PLX design. And it's got some really advanced network connectivity where we have high-end server-grade NICs that are incorporated on the board. But definitely, if you were a high-end gamer that wanted to take advantage of the multi-GPU support, you don't have to be limited by the fact that it's a workstation product. You know, just like if you want to overclock on it, we have a really advanced heat pipe and VRM assembly on here that's going to be able to back that up as well. So while we're definitely going to go ahead and go deeper into each one of these boards, talk about what makes them unique versus the rest of the product stack, you know, if you're interested in the board, it's definitely going to be able to fit to whatever usage model you want.
So you have lots of capabilities with any of these boards, but like you said, let's go in a little bit more specifically, and why don't we start off with the ROG version here. We have the Maximus 5 gene. So here's the Maximus 5 gene, and it's a micro ATX board, so it's a little bit smaller than your standard ATX board. And I know you guys do full-size versions as well as a smaller one. Do you find that there are a lot of gamers out there who are interested in making maybe a little bit more compact system but still with a lot of power in the ROG series? Maybe they want to take it on the go, have it a little bit more portable than, say, a full-size system?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's part of the reason why we started the Gene series. Gene actually meets a couple of different kind of focus points for us. One, it's the entry-level SKU to ROG. So there are some people that, of course, that we know that are only using one GPU, right? So if you're using one GPU, the Gene might be actually a more aggressively priced board, but you still get a lot of the really high-end advanced ROG technologies, but without stepping up the, let's say, the formula or to the extreme models, which are more focused at, let's say, multiple expansion ports and slots that are focused also towards more GPU configurations. Now, the Gene still does offer you SLI and crossfire capability, so it's not if you're limited in that respect, but it should be also viewed not just necessarily being focused at small form factor in terms of like portable LAN environments. You could really do a lot of things with it. You know, we have people that also set this up as a high-performance server, you know, home server configuration, people that wanted to equip it as an HTPC setup because they want to take advantage of maybe better functions that are offered or higher-end networking functionality. But really, the key with Gene, especially it being under the ROG series, is that it's a no compromise design in small form factor. We're going to take all the really high-end benefits that we have generally on an ROG large board and still transition them down to the Gene. So pretty much all you're going to be losing out on is those larger expansion slots that you would have on an ATX board.
So with the Gene, aside from the 1155 socket, support of course for both the second gen Sandy Bridge Intel processors as well as the third generation Ivy Bridge processors that will be coming out or maybe are out already depending on when you're watching this video. What other features have you guys plugged into this one?
So first and foremost, definitely we want to touch on the Extreme Engine Digi Plus design, right? So that's the VRM assembly that we have right here, and of course follows the actual heat pipe assembly. Now that is essentially a higher end VRM design that we even have on, let's say, like our Pro or Deluxe SKUs. They use the high performance alloy-based chokes, so really high performance, high current capable. We have the Nichicon GT caps, which are the best caps that you can get on the market. They're actually the same ones that we used on the Rampage 4 Extreme, the Rampage 4 Formula, the Rampage 4 Gene. So no joke, no compromise design in terms of the component quality. We use some really advanced MOSFET and driver designs on here as well. And we keep definitely that being the hallmark of giving you that driving potential and capability to really be able to push the board. Now, of course, if you're a stock user, we're going to have outstanding operational efficiency because of these key components. So you don't necessarily have to take advantage of overclocking to benefit from the higher quality components. That being noted, some of the other items that we have here is awesome fan connectivity. This board does equip itself with the Fan Expert 2 technology. So for all the fan connectors that we have on here, you're still able to go ahead and take advantage of 3-pin and 4-pin control, with 3-pin control being on the chassis headers, and of course 4-pin control being present on the CPU header as well as on the chassis headers. But you have that full option for manual presets as well as automatic fan calibration. Now, one of the really cool characteristics that we can see here is this special little block, right? This is something that we're introducing specifically for this generation. It's our actually combo card. It's a special vertical adapter that we've gone ahead and incorporated on here that gives you the flexibility of running both an mSATA card as well as a mini PCIe card simultaneously at the same time. So this is a really cool design because we don't impact the PCIe expansion. So your slots that normally you would want to maybe go ahead and install a wireless card into or some type of add-in card is not impacted. Even the SATA ports in this smaller type of configuration in a chassis, it's great. For purposes of demonstration right here, we actually have an Intel 6230M wireless adapter. So this is great because this gives us dual band wireless, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz plus Bluetooth, high speed. Okay, and then on the other end we have a Runcore mSATA 6G 120 gig SSD. So we have the ability to essentially run the entire operating system off of that one mSATA SSD while still also having access to that dual band wireless and Bluetooth. So very flexible design solution. And I think you right there have the bare accessory with nothing on it.
So here's just the card by itself. Also guys, bear in mind if you do purchase this board, the add-in cards that JJ has populated right there are sold separately,
yes.
But it does give you the option to use whichever cards you want. But I love that you have just the space-saving capabilities in itself, just that you can pop in both mini PCI Express or mSATA cards into that same little slot. It just is a little riser card off the board. Doesn't take up your PCI Express slots. Doesn't take up a big chunk of space on the board itself if you're going to drop in an mSATA SSD, for example.
Yeah.
And yeah, it gives you a lot of extra functionality.
The other cool part too is that our special Game First Packet Priority software will not only work with the Intel native gigabit Ethernet port that we have on this motherboard, but it will also work for any wireless card that you put in there. So you can get specialized packet priority performance for games, for voice over IP, for torrent-based applications, any network-centric device you can customize, tune, pick your profiles, tweak it, tune it, whatever you want, and that's going to work on both the network controller and the wireless controller. So very cool implementation. And one note is, as I talked about, I said I put the Intel wireless adapter on here. Mm-hmm. With that Intel wireless adapter, you get one additional really cool benefit. We have full WiDi enabled support on this board. So that means with a WiDi capable receiver, you can have full wireless display streaming capable on a Micro ATX board. So whether you set this up like an HTPC or a small form factor gaming rig, you can wirelessly stream out video or have an extended desktop, or even take advantage of the iGPU to maybe have wireless gaming, as long as it's within the same capability of what the iGPU can render.
So
very cool.
Wireless display capabilities, what resolution does that go up to?
That actually would go up to full 1920 by 1080 capabilities.
Very nice.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and I guess move over on the rest of the back I/O and take a look and see what we have here. So we can see that we have a very robust level of connectivity, even though this is a small form factor board. So moving down, of course, we've got clear CMOS. We've got the ROG Connect button, which aligns with the white USB port. That still gives us all the really cool stuff that we'd love about ROG Connect, right? You can externally monitor the system. You have the ability to reference the debug code. So if your system wasn't posting, you don't have to crack open the chassis. In a small form factor box, that can be kind of difficult sometimes to even be able to see the debug LED, right? But here, you wouldn't need to. Just look at your notebook, your netbook that you have connected, or your tablet. If it's a USB-enabled tablet, you could see the debug code and know, oh, maybe it's my CPU, maybe it's my memory. You need to clear the CMOS, same thing. You can clear the CMOS directly from ROG Connect. You can restart the system, you could shut it down. We even have now extensions that allow you to do GPU level control through ROG Connect. So a really robust hardware level of control that's available on ROG that really sets itself apart from just being overclocking centric to also being monitoring and diagnostics. So we also then of course have USB connectivity. We have USB 3. With the USB 3 we have 6 ports in total on this board, both the Intel as well as the AS Media add-on controller. And with those, both of them are fully capable of taking advantage of our USB 3 boost technology to even get better performance than what you can normally have available to you. We've got eSATA support. We have DisplayPort, with DisplayPort, of course, offering 2560 base resolution, so even higher than 1080p if you're getting a high-resolution panel. We have the Virtuo technology support also, those high-performance functions that we talked about for gamers like high performance or virtual VSync, as well as the standard Virtuo software that lets you take advantage of QuickSync. We've got the Toslink optical out, the Intel native gigabit ports, which work with the Game First packet priority software. The USB 3 ports that we talked about, and then we have the gold-plated high-quality audio connections on there. Speaking on audio, though, like always, we on ROG are looking to give you a higher class of audio connectivity. So we do have, right, in terms of the package design right here, we have the Supreme Effects 3 audio package. So that's actually uses our specialized, what's referred to as moat separation design. So that actual portion of the board is isolated from the rest of the board. This allows us to go ahead and have much lower signal-to-noise ratio and overall achieve the actual true operating performance specification of the codec. So if the codec is rated at 110 dB, we're effectively giving you 110 dB with clear and overall high-quality performance.
So I don't know if you guys can see it, but this this little groove that goes right down there, it also lights up when the board is on, which gives it a cool effect. And so essentially by separating all these audio components here, you're reducing noise, you're reducing interference, and allowing for clear,
it's like having a discrete card almost built onto the board, but while being separated from the rest of the motherboard. And even also this very large cap. This is a special 1500 UF cap that gives a little bit extra punch and driving strength to the sound codec to overall give you a little bit better volume and ensure you have strong capacitance to normalize sound and make sure that it doesn't drop out under heavy load.
Very nice.
So with that, of course, PCIe expansion, you know, we've got SLI and Crossfire support, as you would expect. All the classic stuff in terms of the other connection points like voltage checkpoints, a start button, you know, reset button. We have the T-topology memory design that we talked about on our Gene boards. You know, we've exceeded 2800 4 gig DIMM operations. Actually, on the Gene, we've gone over 3100 and 4 DIMM configurations. So this has definitely been tweaked and tuned to allow you to have the same performance as our top-end ROG boards, but in a small form factor package. So definitely a non-compromised design. And going with that, even for the serial ATA ports, we've made a little bit of a change. Normally, because of the small form factor, we've packed so much stuff in here, right? We've even got that debug directly underneath that. Makes it a little bit more difficult to add on another serial ATA device. But to give you best performance, what we've done is we keep 2 SATA 6G ports from the PCH. We then removed 2 of the 3G ports and we added in an AS Media 1061, which is faster than the Marvell implementation, to go ahead and give you 4 SATA 6G ports natively in this section.
So the red ones here are actually all SATA revision 3.
Exactly, all SATA 6G and then 2 3G ports.
Okay.
So that gives you a little bit more performance, which is nice in a small form factor board where you might not have as much flexibility for expansion purposes, but when you add that all together, definitely a really robust, a really capable board that's got a lot of outstanding features in terms of all the connection headers, whether you're talking about fan connectivity, you know, whether you're talking about the Thunderbolt encrypted header as well on here that that you have the option for expansion on, or the ROG Connect, or of course the mini PCI combo. And on a software front, we still keep all the high performance software that we normally provide, such as the 1-year full version of Kaspersky antivirus and Daemon Tool software as well, and that also then goes along with the Game First Packet Priority software, so very cool.
Excellent. I also wanted to point it out, you got an extra PCIe X4 slot right here, and for some reason I always like this. It's open-ended, so you can actually fit a longer card in there, and you don't even have any other components over here that might potentially block it, so even a little bit more expandability options.
Yeah, and that would, like I said, work ideally for our by 4 Thunderbolt card, which would attach to the Thunderbolt header connection. So you have really pretty much everything you could want in a really high-performance compact board.
Here's a quick rundown of all the accessories and everything you get in the box with the Maximus 5 Gene motherboard. You get a I'm Gaming Do Not Disturb door hanger, so people won't bug you while you're gaming. You also get the Maximus 5 Gene user guide. Inside here is the Maximus 5 Gene driver disc. You also get a little ROG case badge in there. There's a couple pieces of software that you actually get full licenses for as well in here, which are located in the last page of the manual. Here we go. You get Kaspersky Antivirus and Daemon Tools Pro Standard, full 1-year licenses for both of those, so some handy add-ons. So on the software side, you get a cool-looking ROG SLI bridge there. If you're going with an NVIDIA 2-card solution, you can use that. You get, of course, the fantastic ASUS Q connector for assistance with connecting your front panels. Also give you a little USB 2 version of that. And you get the breakout card here with mini PCIe and mSATA capabilities. I should mention that we have one pre-installed on the board right now. You get one of these. Does not come with drive with an SSD or a wireless card pre-installed, so you can pop those in there and use it as a riser card to add some additional functionality to the board. You get the input-output shield, of course. It's got the ROG logo. It's black. All of the ports are clearly labeled. You get your ROG Connect USB cable right there, so it's got the USB-A plugs on both sides. You can route that one into the white port on the motherboard, other goes into your laptop, netbook, or other USB-enabled device, and you can use that for the ROG Connect features. You get 6 serial ATA cables. All these have L brackets on one end, and all of them are SATA revision 1, 2, or 3 compatible. And finally, you get what is, I don't want to say it's my favorite part, but I really like these. The SATA cable labels, so you can tag your cables and say which cable is going where. Next up we have the Sabertooth Z77 from the TUF series, and JJ, I have some news for you for this board.
Yes.
I already did a video on it.
Yes, I'm aware. You did an excellent overview already.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I was hoping that you would approve of my overview. I tried to cover everything. I did miss 1 or 2 little things, hopefully nothing too huge, but we still want to talk about it today. But for those of you who want a full in-depth, I spent about 20 minutes talking about the board and everything that comes with it. You can check that out. It's on our YouTube channel. But for what I missed, first off, I missed the Thunderbolt header.
Yes, so this board does have the option to go ahead and allow you to purchase our Thunderbolt expansion card that will come out. Plugs essentially into the by 4 slot that's on the bottom of the board. We'll make a connection with a cable from the card to that TB header, enabling you to go ahead and have Thunderbolt connectivity on this board.
Beautiful. So Thunderbolt capability is built in, and anything else that I missed?
I think actually you probably covered the majority of it in that overview. I think for us, what we're trying to also to help to communicate is what's some of the segmentation, some of the focus of this board. You know, a large part of TUF is, you know, the attention to detail, I think, at users that are looking for the advanced monitoring, the increased durability, the enhanced component quality, right? You know, whether those are specifically those tough components like the TUF MOSFET, the TUF choke, you know, the TUF capacitor. You know, we get questions why sometimes people say, well, why does the Deluxe board have 16 phases, and why does the Sabertooth have only 8 phases? But those are, of course, our high performance alloy-based chokes. So they have a much higher actually driving strength than the standard chokes that you would have on a normal motherboard. And as such, sometimes depending on the comparison, this could be equal to like a 20, 22 phase, 24 phase motherboard. So it's just very robust. Really the key with TUF is that we're trying to pick the best components that align with, of course, the long-term strategy and the reliability of the board, which is part of the reason why we individually get those components tested so that we can offer that 5-year warranty, which is one of the standout features for, of course, the TUF series. But, you know, it's a fantastic board, really, you know, whether you're going to use it from, you know, an aggressive styled system where you're going to be maybe doing gaming, overclocking on it, or you're looking at more content professional focus where you're going to be doing, you know, actual work, production editing, whether it's audio, video, music, things like that. You know, the board's going to serve you really, really well. And there's a lot of key technologies like the thermal sensor technology to let you go ahead and get all those temperature points tracked and things along those lines that really make it a standout choice for people that are looking for more data and more control relative to those functions. So a very cool board, and like you said, for more information you can definitely check out your overview video.
Yeah, the things I love about this board, the thermal sensors, like you mentioned, there's just a ton. They're scattered across the entire board, so you can really get a good feel for what areas of your build might be getting hotter than others.
Right, and then the Fan Expert technology, which offers that automatic fan calibration per every one of those headers, works with that technology. So it'll go ahead and track those 12 hardware sensors, which I do want to make the note that, of course, for users that don't maybe want to use the thermal armor system, they can entirely remove the thermal armor. So it can be removed, and that won't impact the actual thermal radar system because those sensors are physically on the motherboard.
Okay.
So the channeling technology that we have that, of course, works with the assist fans, one assist fan being here and then one assist fan being here in the center, those aren't affected in terms of the thermal radar technology. If you combine them together, then of course you can get much better performance. In our testing of the thermal radar system with those two fans can sometimes, depending on the board, reduce as much as 14C in terms of the temperature performance. So pretty impressive, and like you noted in the overview video, that in addition to the convection holes that we have on the back of the board are pretty awesome. And
I would encourage everyone to ignore what JJ just said and don't remove the thermal armor, because the other thing I love about this board is just the look of it overall. It's especially with the thermal armor over the top, and then you get the accessories such as the dust defenders that you guys have included, which are little brackets, and you pop these into, for instance, unused PCI Express slots like this, and protects that from dust for one thing, but again, also gives you a nice clean look, protects the socket, and yeah, it's just one of those things where like,
yeah, definitely the aesthetic even looks cooler when you kind of essentially mat out the board, you black it out like that. But like you said, we have put it on there because from RMA research, we know that you get dust, debris, dander that can settle inside there, and sometimes that can lead to ESD discharge, so static discharge, and that can actually damage the port. So that's part of the reason why we do that, not only for the PCIe slots, but for the memory, but even for the USB ports on the bottom. You'll see over there's also a dust defender that already comes pre-installed for the USB 2 headers. And that also works in conjunction with our special ESD diodes, which are built onto this motherboard. For all the key active ports on this board, like the USB ports, we have special ESD guards that help to absorb static discharge so that it doesn't pass over to critical points on the motherboard like your PCH. The PCH controls, of course, all USB ports. So if you didn't have like an ESD guard, that charge can flow through the board, hit the PCH, damage the PCH, and stop the board from booting, or even in really worst case scenarios, maybe even compromise the integrity of like your SSD or your hard drive and cause boot failure.
All right. Well, that is our sort of high-level overview of the ASUS Sabertooth Z77 Tough Series motherboard. Now we will move on to the Workstation Board.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have the P8Z77 WS. WS stands for Workstation, and there's a lot of stuff in this board, but what I've read about it so far is that it maybe is not just for working, can also be used as a gaming board.
Most definitively. I mean, just like every single one of our boards, it's always going to really meet whatever the usage model is for the user that they're interested in pursuing, right? So, I mean, if you want to use Workstation relative to a high-end, gaming rig just because of the PCIe expansion, go for it. You want to use it for content professional purposes, go for it. You want to have, an actual great platform from maybe, say, high storage, high performance server environment, then you can use it. It really is just follow what you think is going to be conducive to the usage model that you're going to have. But definitely we do spend a lot of time to specialize key implementations to meet the user segment of a content professional and a workstation type board. With that, we've definitely spent a lot of time to add some specialized technology to enable special options that are more focused towards workstation users.
And workstation users, in a lot of cases, are doing some very CPU and also GPU intensive type of workloads. So is that one of the reasons why you guys went with the PLX switch on this board? Or I shouldn't say PLX switch, it's an add-on, right? It adds PCI Express lanes?
Well, it is in a way a switch, but it's also a specialized controller. This PLX Gen 3 switch is what allows this board to exceed the normal limitations of what would be on pretty much any other Z77 board. Generally, you're looking at two-way SLI or two-way crossfire. For this board, you have full support for three-way and even four-way configurations. So this is the only board in our entire lineup that's going to be able to give you that flexibility. The other option with that is that you have that flexibility to be able to have high-performance add-in cards. So maybe you're talking about a high performance like LSI controller card. Maybe you want something like a high performance run core PCIe SSD, for writing high performance 1080p 2K video straight to disk with real time streaming. We do a lot of option ROM validation on the WS series, which it's not a feature that's called out because it's hard to call it because it doesn't look like a physical spec. But we actually take time to do option ROM validation for these complex cards, like these controller cards, whether they're fiber channel, they're network based, they're RAID based. All these type of devices have very complex option ROMs that when you throw them onto the board can sometimes confuse certain motherboards, and they'll either post incorrectly, they won't actually initialize right, you might get stop errors, different types of problems, but that's one of the key benefits of this actually WS platform.
So just for our viewers at home who might not be familiar with option ROMs and some of the more advanced types of add-on cards you can do in any type of computer system, that is, as the system is going through its BIOS as it's posting, if you have a specialized card in there, the motherboard's actually going to reach out to communicate with that card.
Yes.
And can be a little bit more tricky than, say, for instance, a graphics card that you might have in a typical system.
Yes, definitely. But even actually for graphics cards, that's the reason why we go through licensing validation support when we take upon, let's say, 3-way or 4-way SLI, because you've also added option ROMs for each one of those graphics cards. So it's important to make sure that the board is capable in that regard. So all those things we take into consideration for the WS because you want to feel confidence that you're working with the platform. Just like we officially support Xeon-based processors on the WS platform. So for users that are looking for more specialized performance and the benefits that the Xeon architecture provides, as well as additional types of support for memory, you're going to have that official support on the WS board.
So even a Xeon processor you can drop in?
That's correct, yes. Any of the actual Ivy Bridge Xeon base will be supported on here, as well as the standard, i3, i5, i7 base parts. So you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to the workstation part. But outside of that, of course, we have a lot of hardware-centric updates that we've made. So we talked about, of course, the PCIe 3 expansion that we have available, and that's only one part. And if we actually start taking a look at maybe some of the I/O connectivity, we can go a little bit deeper into what makes the WS unique.
All right, let's take a closer look.
So we can take a look here on the back plane. Of course, we keep some legacy connectivity because in this segment we still have people that are maybe utilizing a PS2 keyboard and mouse. So that's the reason why we keep the combo connection there. Of course, we still have standard USB 2 ports on the board, but we also have USB 3 ports. We have both the Intel ports and the AS Media ports on this board, along with front USB connectivity. And that's important because we want to be able to give the flexibility, especially in this type of environment. We might have people that are working externally on USB high-performance storage devices, and our option to be able to enable USB 3 boost on either the Intel controller or the AS Media add-on controller, especially for UASP support, can give significant advantages to high-speed backups, imaging-based volumes in terms of the networks, also things like working off an actual workflow for, like, let's say Premiere or Blender, different types of audio mapping programs, things like that. So we have a lot of flexibility there. Now, two really cool functions that we've introduced here are the actual NICs. These two NICs right here are actually L series. So previously in WS products, we've always had one controller be the L series, which is a server grade. For this generation, both of them have been updated to the Intel L series controllers. So this is the highest performance integrated NIC that they have to offer for this kind of mainstream market segment. It gives you even better CPU utilization in terms of reduced footprint, all the strong high-end management functionality for like teaming, jumbo frame support, specialized protocol functionality. We can make adjustments. You can test your cables. A lot of really rich performance functions you have available in the Intel ProSet toolset outside of just the inherent benefit of having better performance, especially as you throw bigger and bigger files across your gigabit network.
And you also have the packet prioritization software. Is that also?
Yes, that's correct. We still maintain the network iControl software built in there, so you still have that also additional benefit, which also serves kind of like a more standard enthusiast that's interested in getting optimized performance, whether it's relative to just web browsing or even gaming if they're having this be set up as like a high-end multi-GPU platform.
All right.
Of course, we've got our USB BIOS flashback technology that's on there. That, of course, gives you the ability to update the CPU. Just like any one of our other boards, no CPU, no memory, no graphics card, just standby power. And we also keep the DTS Ultra 2 PC package, which is a nice other plus in terms of the updates. So that's some of the connectivity that we have there. We also have, of course, flexibility in terms of the storage functionality, where we're going to have a lot of storage. We have 8 serial ATA ports. We've got, of course, the benefit of the quick gate USB down here. This is a really nice option. for users that are interested in being able to take, let's say, like a dongle for specialized programs like Avid, different types of 3D rendering programs that require these unlocked dongles where maybe you don't want to keep it for security purposes or even for the purpose of maybe being damaged, like plugged into a front port. You can just integrate that directly onto the board, lock up the chassis, and not having to worry about it.
Those can be really expensive, right?
That's correct. It can be definitely very expensive, and even your activation policies can be linked to that dongle. So if you damage it, you might have to go through a whole authentication protocol and things like that. So it can sometimes be difficult to deal with. Next to that, of course, we've got our debug LED, which also will work in conjunction with our QLED diagnostic system. So you've got two really easy ways to troubleshoot the system, right? We have the LEDs that are sprinkled throughout the board for the CPU, for the DRAM, for the graphics card, and for the boot device, which are very easy visual ways to see if there's a problem. But if you know a little bit more, you can, of course, use the debug in the postcode that it provides.
Alrighty.
Now that, along with the QLED, functions with this little block right here. This is an additional LED system that we've incorporated for some of our enthusiast users that kind of want to know a quick indicator at whether the system is working under different types of voltage parameters. So we have 3 preset LEDs. You'll have affirmation on an LED that'll let you know if you're running kind of in a more efficient or let's say energy optimized mode. Then there's an actual kind of stock operating mode, and then there's a overvolt kind of overclocking mode. So that will illuminate and let you know. And that once again can be benefit not necessarily to a content or workstation professional, but somebody maybe is more aggressive, taking advantage of the high performance digital VRM that we have on here and the high quality phase design that we have on here as well. Because as you can see, definitely with this full heat pipe design, this centered heat block, and these high performance heat sinks, the Deluxe can overclock with the best of them as well.
So the LED you're mentioning down here, is that color coded?
Yes, that's correct. You do have green, blue, and red in terms of the actual color coding that's available to you there.
All right. Now I noticed up here you have an additional Molex port. Is that for supplemental power for PCI Express?
Yeah, that's correct. This is predominantly going to be for additional power in very specialized situations. For most users, it's generally not going to be an issue, but if you're running maybe possibly full graphics cards and you're utilizing them all actively under high load with an overclock configuration, you would probably want to utilize that. I will note that even in our testing for basic usage, even under 4-way configurations, it hasn't been required, but it's there as a backup alternative. In addition to that, we still have a high degree of fan connectivity. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there should be one other header, 6 here. So 6 4-pin PWM fan headers, so we still have that full robust Fan Expert 2 software that works on a hardware level to give us, of course, full 3-pin support for chassis 1 through 4 and full control for 4-pin on the PWM side. So you also have the manual presets that you can go ahead and define, as well as manual target values that you can go ahead and define as well, and of course full automatic fan calibration. So a very robust board that pretty much brings all the key things that we would want to the table that you see like in our Deluxe series with like TPU and EPU and MemOK, but you then have specialized GPU functions. So as I was noting there, you know, excellent board in terms of having that multi-GPU support or extended just PCIe support for complex PCI-based devices. The cool part, though, is working in conjunction with the PCIe expansion for graphics. We also have that Lucid MVP software. So once again, for gamers or enthusiasts that want virtual VSync or high performance, that's also available to them. And I think rounding out some cool storage functionality, we also keep in the vein of having specialized functions that are really for people that are more workstation oriented or want complex storage support. So very similar to the Deluxe for the serial ATA here, we've got the SSD caching technology. So that has the benefit of going ahead and giving us that configuration that I talked about, where we could run like high performance SSD RAID off of the 6 gigabit connection that we have natively on the PCH, right? But then still be able to go ahead and have like a 2 terabyte storage volume and run our SSD caching configuration. So that's a nice plus point, whereas take for instance like our Pro board or our standard board or even the Tough board, those are going to have the high-speed AS Media 1061 controller but not have that SSD caching. Lastly, on the backplane on the I/O, we do have, of course, eSATA, but we have the eSATA SATA 6G revision. So we have the highest speed performance for some of the latest eSATA enclosures that have come to the market. So that's going to be really nice for people who are looking for high performance backups, doing full image-based backups, or they're doing workflow work off of an external high-performance hard drive configuration. Now, this does also support port multiplier support, which is a big plus because that means that the actual eSATA can effectively multiply off. So you can go ahead and run that to enclosure, and they can also have eSATA function and extend that, similar to kind of the daisy chain functionality that you have within Thunderbolt. So a very robust and capable board that's pretty much giving you all the key things that you would want in a high-end, content professional focus board or an enthusiast class board. So very capable.
And speaking of all the things you get with this board, we also have some accessories. So let me just run down all those really quick. We've arrayed them out here in front of the board. First off, you get a COM bracket there. So for those of you who need legacy support for a device that connects via one of those D-sub COM connections, routes over to the COM header on the board. You also get a total of 8 serial ATA cables. You get these 6 here. These are black, and they all have L brackets on one end. They're all SATA revision 1, 2, or 3 compatible. You get 2 more red ones in this little packet, as well as a serial ATA power splitter. So it'll let you take a Molex power plug, splits it to 2 serial ATA power plugs. You also have an additional rear panel bracket right there with a FireWire, as well as 2 USB 2.0 ports. You have several SLI options here. So you get a single SLI ribbon cable. It's an extra long one, so if you want to space out your video cards that you have connected, you can do that for some additional airflow over those, or to allow you some extra space to populate some of the PCI slots in between them. You also get a 3-way SLI bracket there with the rigid PCB style, and you get, of course, the 4-way SLI bracket right there for 4-way NVIDIA SLI. Also, of course, you get the ASUS motherboard DVD with your drivers as well as software included in there. You get a case badge. And finally, you get the Q connector right there, as well as a little USB 2.0 connector. And JJ, do you get any additional software along with just the motherboard drivers on this disc?
You know, the main software focus there is going to be the AI Suite 2 package, which of course lets us access to the network eye control, the fan expert, the USB 3 boost, all that stuff. But in addition to that, the only additional piece of software is going to be the Lucid Virtual MVP software, which a cool function is for all our ASUS boards, including the WS, is sans activation. So when you install it, don't have to go online to activate it, unlike competitors' products.
Very nice. And that is going to wrap it up for this video. Once again, would like to say a huge thank you to JJ for stopping by and sharing all of this information with us today. And JJ, please have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you for watching this video. If you'd like to see more videos on the ASUS family of motherboards, please check our Newegg YouTube channel. You can also check out the ASUS ROG channel and see more of JJ and his videos. And that's going to do it. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time on Newegg TV.